everyone. Good evening, or rather good afternoon. Okay, it's a very hot Saturday afternoon here. Okay, so nice to see all of you again. It has been 1 week. Satu minggu saya tidak bersiaran sebab cuti tahun baru Cina. Okay, so I'm back again. And saya merebut peluang ini Saya ingin merebut peluang ini kerana next week you are going to have your practical exam. Okay, so this is the last chance. In fact, this is the last chance that you would maybe perhaps the next 2 days that you go through any material that will help you to answer your paper 3. Okay, so paper 3 this year is very different, right? Because it's new, so nobody actually knows how the scheme is going to look like. Okay, jadi saya tidak menyatakan bahawa saya tahu skemanya, tetapi disebabkan pengalaman saya telah mengajar biologi selama 29 tahun dan juga sebagai now I can say because I was marking paper 3. Okay, saya telah memeriksa kertas paper 3 selama 17 tahun. Okay, from almost the beginning until the last year. Jadi dengan begitu confident saya boleh kata saya agak tahulah apa yang diperlukan oleh soalan. Jadi tapi I do not guarantee that what I'm going to tell you is going to be menepati skema yang sebenar. Alright, so itu saya tak berani cakap kerana saya tak tahu skemanya, saya bukan penggubal, dan kalau saya penggubal pun saya tidak boleh memecahkan rahsia, itu sulit. Okay, so I'll draw my experience of being a biology teacher for so many years and being an ex-marker for paper 3. I will try to help you as much as I can. Okay, so today I'm going to give you all the technique, and if you see this question, what should you be writing? So I'm not going to give you the fish, I'm going to teach you how to fish. Okay, saya tak memberikan jawapan itu terus kepada anda, tetapi saya akan memberikan teknik untuk anda menjawab. Alright, okay, so let's start right to it. So saya harap everyone is all ready to listen. You can always play the video again untuk lihat semula, okay, apakah teknik yang telah saya bentangkan. Okay, so saya akan share screen sekarang. Nampak? Harap boleh bagi feedback. Okay, so comments. Saya lupa nak tengok komen. Okay, good afternoon everyone. Good afternoon Joanne and everyone. Deva. Okay, Ghost. Okay, all of you are here. Ex-potato, alright. Fatinur, Jawe, everyone. Okay, too many to answer. Some of them are my students. Some of them are not. Okay, thank you for watching, and I hope you're going to get your benefit. Okay, Jenshen, good afternoon. Shavin. Alright, so let's look at the first slide. Alright, so this is just an introduction. I just, when you want to tulis buku pun, letak satu cover yang cantik sikit lah kan. So this is just a cover ni. Alright, so what's important is isi dia. Alright, let's look at it. Now, here I'm sure I'll just go very briefly. You know what you're going to do on Tuesday. Okay, ini ialah panggil Ujian Amali Bersepadu or UAS lah, because we are combining 3 subjects, biology, physics and chemistry. That's why we call it bersepadu or integrated. So 1 question for each subject. So you're going to have 3 questions if you take biology, chemistry and physics. Dan setiap soalan 15 markah. Okay, so each one you're going to have 15 marks. So that means you're going to have 45 marks, okay, for your Ujian Amali Bersepadu. And every question there's going to be a sub question. Okay, dan every sub-question ada beberapa soalan. Maksudnya ada satu soalan yang mungkin ringkas bagi 1 markah. Then after that, the next soalan mungkin 2 markah. Jadi jumlahnya, if you add everything together, it should be 15 marks for your component of your subject. Okay, so after this, I'm going to show you example of some questions. Alright, okay. And planning is 5 minutes. So you have 3 subjects, you are given 5 minutes of planning, so 50 minutes. Okay, during that time, you are not allowed to begin the experiment. You can look at it, you can test your experiment, you can test your apparatus if it works. So you can play with your stopwatch, see whether it starts and stops correctly. Okay, you can do that, but you're not allowed to begin to do the experiment, and you're not allowed to answer anything. Okay, so answering and doing the experiment, that takes about 40 minutes. So times 3, altogether 2 hours and 50 minutes. Kalau awak ambil 3 mata pelajaran. Kalau anda ambil katakan drop fizik ataupun drop biology, okay, ambil 2 sahaja, masanya lebih singkat lah. Okay, jadi anda akan keluar lab lebih awal berbanding murid yang ambil 3 kertas. Alright, okay, let's go right to it. Apakah kemahiran yang akan ditaksir? What are they going to test you? Okay, ini ialah kemahiran proses sains ataupun science process skills. And according to this, it's a syllabus, actually it's set already. We're going to test you things like this. Okay, I just want to give you the possible, all the possibilities that can come up. All right. Of course, there are others, but these are the most common ones. Okay, they're going to recording. Of course, when you do experiment, you have to record. Okay, making observation, writing the observation. Now, observation ada dua, sama ada kualitatif atau kuantitatif. Okay, after I give you an example, apa itu kualitatif dan kuantitatif? Making an inference. What does it mean by making an inference? You're actually trying to explain your observation. So many students will always tell me, teacher, I do not know what is inference. Inference, very simple, I just ask you. They always pair together. Observation is what you really get from the experiment. What you see, what you hear, what you see, the difference, the change of the color and the sound, that is observation. But what does it mean? Apakah maksudnya apa yang anda lihat itu? So inference is giving a reason for your observation. Okay, it's a reason for your observation. Why is it like that? This is always a simple answer. Always tell my students. Your observation is explaining. Your inference is explaining observation. Why do you get this observation? What has happened? Okay, so later I'll show you an example. Okay, listing variables is simple. All right, of course you have your materials and your manipulated variables, your responding variable, and your constant variable. I hope you should know by now. This is quite the basic. You've learned it since Form 1. Making hypotheses, trying to answer your problem statement. Okay, constructing a table. Okay, table after I'll show you how it was marked last time when I was marking paper 3. So I dare not say that it's going to be the same scheme, but based on what I already know, it shouldn't run very far away. Okay, so drawing a graph from the table, you must draw a graph if there is a question like that. Okay, but if you draw a graph without a table, your graph is kosong. You cannot, it's not, the rationale is anda tidak boleh melukis satu graph kalau anda tidak ada jadual. Jadi kalau anda lukis graph tapi tak ada jadual, memang graph itu akan kosong. Okay, kosong markah. Walaupun betul, semua betul. Alright, that is the rationale. Okay, next, menyatakan hubungan. Okay, lepas lukis satu graph, after you draw the graph, you will see how the graph goes. Is it going up? Is it coming down? And you write the relationship based on your y and your x. Okay, defining operationally. Okay, this one I'll give an example later on. Usually defining operationally, they ask you a question. What is the rate of photosynthesis? Okay, when you want to answer this question, you must refer to this experiment. You cannot give a general definition for photosynthesis. You cannot, because it will be very, very low marks on it. Okay, you have to talk about specifically for this experiment. Okay, after I go through that. Next one, predicting. They'll always change the scenario. This is like a little bit of K-part question. Dia berikan satu scenario, anda telah buat eksperimen ini. Lepas itu dia akan mengubah satu keadaan. They will change one of the factors. Usually one of the factors that can change the results. So they give it, let's say, different temperature or different different concentration of something. Then they ask you what is the prediction of this experiment. Okay, without doing the experiment. So you have to draw on your theory now. Kalau anda hendak menjawab soalan tentang ramalan, anda mesti boleh memberikan satu ramalan yang munasabah, logical. Lepas itu memberikan penerangan why you should get this result. Okay, classifying, mengelas. Anda boleh sama ada mengelaskan apparatus dan material ataupun katakan solution, larutan, hypotonic, isotonic, whatever. They ask you to classify. So that's one of the easier questions. Okay, let's look at the next slide. Now this is the example of a question. Okay. A lot of questions were shared. All right. So I'm not saying this is going to be a question. Please don't tell me, don't say that because I do not know the question. All right. I'm not allowed to say even if I do. So do not quote this as okay. This teacher is giving you the answer now. I know such thing. So I'm giving the technique only. Jangan salah faham ya. Saya punya tujuan. Okay. So tengok apa yang akan ditanya. Anda nanti menjalankan satu eksperimen untuk mengkaji kesan kepekatan larutan berbeza ke atas keratan batang bayam. They can give you carrot, they can give you bayam, they can give you any other stem or any other parts of the plant. All right. So here, rancang. Now there are two types of questions that can come up. One is no procedure is given. So here, no procedure is given. So we assume you must know how to do the experiment. And then you are supposed to write your procedure. Plan your experiment by using apparatus and materials provided. Your procedure should include, now highlight this one, you must talk about the methods to handle the 3 variables, MV, RV, and CV. You have to write all these 3, okay? If not, you're going to lose your marks. And at least 1 precautionary step. That's why you have your 4 marks there. You see the word 4 there? Alright, saya menjangka sahajalah. Saya tak tahu skema betul lah. Saya menjangka mungkin 3 markah untuk method to handle variables and 1 mark to handle to write your precautionary step. So at least 1 precautionary step. Otherwise, you will not get your full mark, 4 marks. Okay, next one. Okay, any questions? You can just type. I may be slow in answering you because my yeah. Okay, so far no problem. No question. If you have, you just type in or let me know. All right. Now next one. So you're supposed to do the experiment. Now state your observation. Yes, definitely after experiment you have to state your observation. Okay, the first thing you do is your dapatan. Dapatan mesti ada observation ataupun pemerhatian. State. After that, explain. This is inference. Inference is explaining your observation. So this is another fancy name to say explain your observation. It actually means inference. Okay, explain your observation. All right, okay. I'm not going to discuss this question. I'm going to discuss another question. Okay, so and after that you're maybe you're asked to draw. Okay, lepas merendam keratan batang bayam di dalam different solution, you may need to draw. You're going to draw how it curves, right? You're going to curve like this. It's going to curve inwards, outwards, or becomes, or it will become shorter or longer and so on. So you must know how to draw, right? Draw your observation. Okay, next. Then you will have to classify. I see the classifying. Okay, see all the kemahiran process science. Okay, bukan semua, tapi dalam satu soalan ni sebab 15 markah sahaja. It's quite limited. They cannot ask you all the things that I showed you just now. It's not possible. So see your luck, all right? This year they will come out this question. They will ask just this of the kemahiran process. So here is classifying. So you classify whether it's hypotonic, isotonic, or hyper lah. All right, this is the X and Y. Then this is a kebat lah. This is a prediction. They're gonna change the situation a little bit. All right. So here is a baja organic. Is it baja organic? Yes. Okay. So, ramalkan apa yang akan berlaku. Predict what will happen to the vegetables if this person mixes 20 ml of fertilizer with 500 ml of water to fertilize her vegetables. Okay, so here are 2 things you need to talk about here. First, give your prediction. Your prediction must be in the sense that you must answer the question. And then you explain why you give this prediction. Okay, for the explanation, you have to give usually the theory part. And you dig back on your theory because you cannot explain if you don't have a theory about this experiment. Okay, why? Why should it be increase or decrease? Why should the value increase or why should the value decrease? Okay, clear? Right, let's go on. Right, all right, let's go next. Now, so recording. Let me go one by one. Recording. All right, now recording. You do not state your answer in fraction. Do not write your answer in fraction. If you have your answer, if you do your calculation 1 over something, please use a calculator and put it in decimal form. Okay? Because the rationale here is when you get an answer in fraction form, you cannot draw a graph with a fraction. The scale on your X and your Y, you do not know where to place your X because the fraction, it's not on the scale. It is if it's fraction, if it's a decimal, you can put your 0.1, 0.2, 0.3. You can draw a graph. For fraction, you cannot draw a graph. Okay. Now maintain the consistent number of decimal places. If you have the table there, whatever the same data, let's say RV, okay, must have the consistent number of decimal places. If you have 2 DP, everything must be two decimal places. Kalau 3 tempat perbelaan, semua mesti 3. Jangan sekali 2, jangan sekali 3 macam tu. You akan kehilangan markah. Okay? Must be same and consistent number of decimal places. Alright, okay. And next one. Okay, answer usually 1 or 2 or even 3 at the most. Usually 4 terlalu sangat jarang. You will not have a data that is so accurate or right down to that scale of having 4 decimal places. The also rationale is it's very difficult for you to draw a graph afterwards. So precise, you cannot even identify your 4th, the 4 decimal places for your graph. It's not possible. So usually one is good, 2 is better, all right? But usually it will not go more than 3, all right? Now, next one, let's give you an example here. This is from 2019 paper, all right? Even though this is, of course, the written one, the data all given to you, okay, 1.2, 0.6, all this given to you, and the time, you just have to convert into, we call it because it convert into fraction, into decimal, sebab dia punya letak dalam minit. Lihat jawapan yang betul ya, 2.5 atau 2.50, dan mesti maintain semua decimal place yang sama. Okay, so this is, I just want to show you lah. So everything, the whole jalur, all the values must be of the same, a number of decimal places. Okay, let's go on. Now, making observation. Observation, when you want to require an observation, especially for quantitative data, that means got number one. Okay, what do you mean by quantitative data? Eksperimen yang anda perlu anda ukur, katakan contohnya isi padu, jus buah-buahan yang diperlukan untuk melunturkan your TCP/IP. Itu ada value kan? That is a quantitative data. Then what about your burning the kacang? Okay, the what do you call that? The suhu, right? The temperature rise and all that. That is also quantitative. As long as you have numbers, it's considered a qualitative data. So when you write an observation, you may be required to write the quantitative value. So you must have a unit. If you have a number, you must have a unit. And you must mention your MV and your RV. Okay, MV and RV, that is in your question. Okay, so that's why I'm teaching you how to fish, is rather because that way I cover more things. You will know how to use your intelligence to answer more questions, rather than I give you one question and then just to tackle that question only. Maybe it will not come out the question. Okay, who knows? But anyway, I'm going to do one question with you. Okay, afterwards. All right, okay. So next one. So this is the BM version. Tengok sendiri lah saya. Because if I use and say both language, I will take up more time, okay? Anda boleh baca sendiri kan? Okay, so now next one. So what kind of observation if it's quantitative? Katakan, berikan satu observation, okay? Anda kalau katakan your experiment has got measuring one, got numbers one. So you must talk about your MV and your RV. Now look here, this is the data that was given for the experiment that was 2019. Not your experiment, not the one that you do, but they provide it to you, and it is a written experiment. Okay, so if you want to talk about your observation, make sure you talk about your MV and your RV. You must have MV and your RV. Now, what is MV? I put blue color. You see the MV is your cube agar, J, K, L, or M. And then for the other one, it's also MV, the total surface area per volume ratio. So you can use either J, K, L, M, or you can use your total surface area per volume ratio. That is your MV. So in your sentence, mesti ada MV. Dan juga mesti ada RV. Apakah nilai itu? What is your number that you get from your experiment? So here, the value, okay, the time taken for your agar cube to become colorless. So the number, value must be there plus the unit. Okay, contoh jawapan. Alright, so you just take any one. For one observation, you can take your J or your K and your L or your M. Okay, look at the marks. If the marks is only 1, that means probably they just want one observation. All right, no need to write so many. No need to write your J and a K and a L and M. You're wasting your time on it. Okay, so here one acceptable observation is for agar cube J. Tadi saya menggunakan agar cube lah sebagai MV dia. The time taken for the agar cube to become colorless is 2.5 minutes. Make sure you put in your unit. If you don't put your unit, it's quite likely you will get it wrong. You'll be wrong. Or you can use your total surface area. That is also MV. Okay, when the total surface area per volume ratio is 1.2 per millimeter, the time taken for the agar cube to become colorless, you see the RV is the same, is 2.5 minutes. All right, okay, so make sure your observation has your MV and your RV plus the data and the unit. That is a quantitative data or quantitative observation. Okay, mesti ada bacaan punya. Alright, faham ya? Alright, okay, let me go on to the next one. Making inference. Inference is like I said, giving reason for your observation. Why is it like this? Why do I get 2.5 minutes? Okay, what does it mean? Okay, now, tip. Inference is explaining the reason for the observation. Why you get what you get. Okay, why you get what you get. Okay, so inference must match the observation. That means your inference must be able to explain the observation. If your observation doesn't match your inference, that means it's definitely tak logic ah. Alright, your inference mesti boleh menjawab, boleh menerangkan observation itu tersebut lah. Nanti saya bagi contoh lah ya. Okay. Okay, listing variables. The variables be all the MV, RV, all this lah. MV. How to know what's MV? Very simple. Kalau you buat eksperimen tu 2 kali, tengok apa yang berbeza pada kali yang kedua. Contohnya, anda menggunakan kacang yang berbeza. Okay, first time you go and burn your kacang tanah. The second time you do the same thing again, the procedure, the soalan kata, okay, sekarang anda ulangkan eksperimen, okay, repeat steps 2 to 5 by using cashew nut. So the difference here is your nut. So the type of food or the type of kacang. Okay, so what is different? So this is the keyword. If you want to find what is MV, what is different? You compare your experiment, or maybe there are 2 sets of experiment or 2 sets of radars. What is this and this one? You see what's the difference. The difference is your MV. Okay? Ataupun you buat 2 kali, you ubah satu faktor, iaitu contohnya temperature atau ubah apa-apa sajalah. Itu ialah apa yang berubah. Okay, what is your RV? RV very simple. RV is what are you going to measure? What do you want to see? Okay, what do you want to observe? Apa yang perlu dicatat, diperhatikan, diukur dalam eksperimen ini. Itulah RV dia. Okay, what is you want to measure? You want to see the temperature rise when you burn the kacang. Or you want to see, let's say, the number of bubbles released when your hydrilla undergoes photosynthesis, menggunakan keadaan berbeza. So, you're measuring the number of bubbles, itu ialah RV lah. Okay, what about constant variable? Even easier. Constant variable ialah apa yang dikekalkan sama bila anda buat eksperimen tu kali yang kedua. Okay? Like you do one time, you change only the jenis kacang, but you maintain the volume of the water in the boiling tube, okay, to absorb the heat from the oxidation of burning of your kacang. Or you maintain the the distance, okay, when you put your kacang to burn it, you want to put very far, one put very near, that one cannot lah, it will be different. Okay, so what you keep the same is your constant variable. Biasanya ada lebih daripada satu jawapan untuk constant variable. Tapi MV biasanya satu jawapan sahajalah, only one answer. Okay, making hypothesis. Okay, how to make a hypothesis? Alright, how to make a hypothesis? Very simple. You are trying to answer your problem statement. What are you trying to investigate in your experiment? Usually in the question, the first line they'll give you. Okay, this is an experiment to investigate the effect of blah, 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 blah on blah, 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 blah. So it's the effect of RV on MV. Your hypothesis must be able to give some kind of an answer to that. Okay, so hypothesis must also have the same thing, MV, RV, and the relationship between your MV and RV. Okay, contoh saya bagi satu format lah. Okay, so this is your VM version. So how to write a relationship, the hypothesis. So when MV increases, RV increases. This is the standard format, but not all can be used like this lah. Okay, when you can say, or you can say when MV decreases, RV increases, either increase or decrease. So in the statement, you can find there's MV, there's RV, and there's also the relationship. The relationship is in the increasing, decreasing lah. When this one increase, the other one decrease. That is the relationship, or maybe both increase. Okay, or maybe both decrease. So you must think of the relationship to menghubungkan these dua pemboleh ubah. Okay, next. Another way to say the higher the MV, the higher the RV, or the lower the RV. Okay, again, you have the 3 things already. All right, next one. The RV increases or the RV decreases with the increase in MV. So the third form is quite a bit jarang for you to write the answer lah. Okay, so usually the first or the second lah, when the MV increases, the RV increases, that is quite standard. But I said just now, not every one of these experiments you can do like this. For example, you want to check, let's say the kacang one. You want to burn kacang, then you want to burn the cashew nut, kacang tanah dan cashew nut. So your hypothesis, maybe you can give a general one by saying, cashew nut produces or has a higher calorific value than your kacang, cashew nut, your kacang tanah. Okay, so one has a higher calorific value. Calorific value is your RV lah. The kacang and the kacang is your RV, MV. Okay, so your kacang, you must mention both the kacang. Your RV is the calorific value. And then higher than, that is the relationship. Okay, so you say your cashew nut has a higher calorific value than the groundnut. That is also a hypothesis. Okay, all right. Okay, everyone, yeah. Is the need to be specific like the type of bean? Yes, Ching Chu. It's better to be specific for MV. Okay, for MV, you always look at the materials that are given. So let's say walnut and peanut. You can say type of beans. It's not wrong. It's not wrong. Or you can say, don't say type of food lah. All right. Try to be specific. The type of bean, or type of nut, or the type of kacang. Okay, or bean should be better. To be specific is better than being general. Always. Okay. Take that road of being trying to be specific. Okay, now constructing table, there are certain rules you must follow. Constructing a table, make sure the titles, if they give you the titles, your table must contain blah, blah, blah. All these three must be inside. Okay, you can add additional. For example, you want to do an average. Okay, you do your experiment. Let's say you got time lah. Let's say lah, you do an average. You want to add another column there. You can, but minimum must be the 3 or the 4 items or the titles they give to you. Okay, must have. And then don't forget to give the unit. Even though they don't give the unit there, you must give the unit yourself. You should know lah what unit, isn't it? If temperature must be degrees Celsius, correct or not? It cannot be anything else. So use your intelligence. You must think about the unit. If you forget your unit, one of your marks is no longer there. Okay, you sudah hilang satu markah. Next one, copy all the data. Let's say you're given data in the observation table. Okay, your MV is already given. All right, you just copy back into your MV, and your RV is what you generate. After doing the experiment, you must generate your RV, isn't it? Let's say you measure. So that is your RV lah. You write it into your observation table. Then maintain the number of decimal places consistent. Like I said, whole column must be the same number. Whole column here. Okay? Calculate carefully using the given formula. Usually they will give you the formula to calculate. Okay? Teacher, may I know this banker until what time? Oh, until I finish the discussing. Esther, it should be around 1 hour if I talk fast enough. Okay. So sometimes I'm so used to, I have so many things to say, I have to end up talking very fast. I hope that you can catch up lah. I'm so used to actually talking and talking very fast. So some people say I talk very fast when I teach. Okay, because of the time constraint. I also don't want to take out too much of your time. I'm sure you're very bored, isn't it? More than 1 hour. I try to finish within 1 hour. All right. Usually my lesson is 1 hour. Don't worry. All right. What I give you is unnecessary things. I'm not going to talk. I'm going to give you what necessary things only. Is it possible experiment using Bunsen burner? It's possible, Kathleen. Why not? It's possible. Are you afraid of using the Bunsen burner? And maybe a lot of students are afraid of using Bunsen burner because they didn't practice, or the teacher didn't in primary, in Form 1, not primary. Form 1, they didn't really, the first lesson when they enter the lab, they must teach you how to use all these things. So no worries. You should, this is all your part of your skill. As a science student, you should know how to light up a Bunsen burner. So there's no excuse of you saying you don't know how to light a Bunsen burner. There's one thing. If you cannot light a Bunsen burner, all right, or you really do not know, you know that you can ask for help from the lab assistant or the teacher, but I want to give you a but, if you ask for help, sedikit markah mungkin ditolak. If you want to take the risk, you feel that you risk the risiko lah, tengok lah. Kalau you rasa you sendiri boleh buat, better you buat. Sebab kalau you ambil, you minta nasihat ataupun minta pertolongan dari lab assistant ataupun cikgu yang bertugas di dalam preparation room itu, there's a PMP, penyelia mata pelajaran. Okay, you may be deducted the marks because the teacher who's helping you must write a report. What kind of help was given to you? Okay, understand? So Kathleen, try to light it up yourself, right? Don't worry, you're not going to burn up the whole lab. Yeah, past 2 years. Can you give more than one answer? All right, now, you can try, but if your answer bercanggah, let's say directly opposite, then it's kosong. It's wrong, cancel, right? You cannot say, let's say, for example, this one, let's say, vitamin C, let's say, vitamin C, you say agent pengoksidaan. It's an oxidizing agent. And then another sentence, you say agent penurunan, reduction, is a reducing agent. Item cannot be oxidizing and reducing at the same time. If you write like that, it's bercanggah, the examiner will definitely know you are guessing on it. It cannot be, definitely wrong. All right. But if your answer is not directly conflicting, maybe you're explaining this sentence in a better way. You can try. Maybe your marks will go to the second sentence because it's more what you call more elaborate. Tapi jangan bagi jawapan yang bercanggah, nanti akan dapat kosong ya akhirnya. Wrong, cancel, right. Ada prinsipal macam itu. Okay, so calculate carefully. Use the given formula. If there's given formula, if baguslah kalau ada formula. Kalau tak ada formula, kalau lah, I don't know, I don't know the question. Then good luck to you lah, okay? You will try to remember the formula lah, okay? Try to memorize the formula in case it's not given to you. I also don't know whether they give you or don't give you, Yeah, okay? So, if you want to ask for more solution, super solution, because we have used it up, is it also report and do? That one probably no, all right? But depends on, usually we will give you enough solution to do the experiment. If you need more, then probably if you spill it, accident, then of course they can't penalize you. If you use more, I'm just afraid that you may have be repeating, and you will not have time to answer the written questions. Do not forget, you're not just doing experiment, After doing experiment, you have to put your answer on paper. You also have to answer the questions. So do not devote all your time to just doing the experiment. Nanti bila akhir-akhirnya, saat-saat terakhir, anda tak cukup masa untuk menjawab soalan yang membawa markah. You understand or not? The 15 marks come from your answer on the paper. Your 15 marks doesn't come from doing the experiment perfectly. Nobody's going to judge you by giving you mark by, doing the experiment perfectly. No matter how well you do the experiment, ultimately markah itu masuk dalam what we see in your paper. Kalau anda buat berkali-kali soalan itu, eksperimen berkali-kali, tapi you tak ada masa nak menjawab, nanti markah anda sangat akan jadi kosong juga kalau anda buat eksperimen sahaja. Okay? So remember, Shanisa, jangan terlalu melebihkan terlalu banyak masa untuk membuat berkali-kali untuk dapat jawapan yang paling tepat, tetapi you already lost the time to answer your question. Remember, the marks come from answering the paper, not for doing the experiment. We are not going to judge you for your manipulative skills. Okay? Now, formula is given or not, I cannot answer this question, Suen Hui, because I do not see the question, I do not know the question, and again, this is the first year. Semua orang tertanya-tanya, especially the teachers tertanya-tanya. Saya pun tertanya-tanya, okay? Mungkin lepas tahun inilah kita lebih confident, boleh bagi teknik, mungkin pointer yang lebih membantu kepada murid. So unfortunately you all are the guinea pigs, so very, very unfortunate. But that's why I'm here, I'm trying to help you. Okay, as what I really know, I will try to help you. Okay, the answer, we need to write our answer using the theory experiment. Oh, what do you mean? If you are measuring doing the experiment, you should be the data that you get from the experiment. Okay, but when you answer questions like prediction, you can go back to your theory because they want to give the reason. Okay, you do the answer, you answer the theory, you give your reason based on theory. Tapi kalau tentang ukuran, all this, when you're measuring and all that, you should take the answer that you get from experiment. Don't go and reka-reka jawapan sendiri. Mesti dia akan lari banyak daripada kawalan. Don't forget there's a teacher in the preparation room doing the same experiment with you, using the same things, and she or he is going to get the kawalan, the data that is going to be digunakan untuk mark your paper. Okay, jadi katakan you punya temperature, rise of the water jauh sangat lari sangat jauh, tapi padahal cikgu yang buat itu dia mungkin dalam 20 degrees Celsius peningkatan, tapi you dapat 80 degrees peningkatan. Mungkin salah lah tu, something you did wrongly during experiment. That's why we need a kawalan. The teacher, which is called a PMP, penyeleng mata pelajaran, akan membuat eksperimen yang sama dengan kamu, menggunakan alat radar dan juga kepekatan yang sama, bahan yang sama, bancohan yang sama, pada masa yang sama untuk mendapat satu data kawalan. Alright, okay? Now, do you get the answer of asking? Meaning what? The answer, we need to write our answer. Yes, using the experiment lah, Mitilesh. Okay, so do you get an answer of asking? I'm not sure. I think I answered your question. Bagison. Okay, next one. Let me continue. I want to run very fast already. Okay, now you must have your data, your title. All three titles must be there. Data and calculation. I'll give you an example. Okay, here. What do you need? You need to look at this. Consistent number of data. Look at the units. You have the millimeter per millimeter. You have the minute. You have the per minute. Now, don't worry about experiment. This one is the 2019 one. Okay. Now, drawing a graph. Okay. After you get your data, your table, you may be asked to draw a graph. So pay attention to the axis. Okay, the paksi, the point. Okay, titik dan juga bentuk graf. Ini adalah 3 markah yang diberi. Kalau soalan tu 3 markah, okay, kita akan beri itu 3 markah lah pada paksi. Paksi mesti betul. Y dan X uniform scale. Jangan lompat ya. Skala itu jangan tiba-tiba ini 1 cm 5 unit. Lepas tu 1 cm pula 10 unit. Okay, sudah salah. Teknik anda melukis graf sudah salah. Okay, skala mesti sekata. Label both axis with title and unit. Dua-dua mesti ada tajuk dan unit. Unit lah. Selalu murid lupa unit. They always forget the unit. Okay. Mark the origin 0 kalau boleh. And the gradation. Gradation is the sengat-sengat. All the lines there. 10, 20, 30, 40. There's one year they penalize, you know. If you don't write this, no marks, you know. So you better write the gradation on the graph. Pada skala tersebut. Letak itu titik-titik dia punya line dia. Okay. If the result we get from experiment is totally different from theory, which to follow? Follow your experiment. Follow your experiment. How do you know your theory? Your theory no number. Theory is just the explanation only. The theory, there's no theory in your buku that says, okay, doing the experiment, you must get this nilai. No. You should always, because you are actually handling the thing itself. So take the value from your experiment. Don't forget the teacher, there's another teacher doing the experiment. So that is going to be a kawalan. They're going to mark your answer based on the teacher's, probably lah, based on the teacher's answer there. Okay, don't go and reka your own jawapan untuk data. Alright, next one. Tandakan pusat coordinate, okay, dan sengat tu line dia. Mark that with an X, don't mark with a big dot. Mark with an X and use a sharp pencil. A small one will do. Don't go make a big X there and very fat. Okay, your titik tak tepat. Okay, do not extrapolate. Don't go and lanjutkan graf. Bila sudah lukis graf tu, the first point and the last point sudah habis. Sudah okay. Jangan pergi itchy hands and go and tarik some more here, tarik some more there, becomes so extra long. And then it's actually wrong. When I marked it last time the paper 3 lah. I tak berani kata sekarang Jangan kata ini skema dia. Saya tak tahu skema sekarang. Okay. Can we use zigzag? Yes, if you find that your axis the value is very, very big, you cannot start from 0. And if you start from 0, you find that all your value will be very high or one side of the graph. You can zigzag, all right? You can just cut the scale, but make sure you show that zigzag, you cut the scale and make sure the scale is all the sengat itu mesti uniform. Need to write the title. You can write to be better lah, more complete. Like I said, I do not know the schema for this year. Write the title. And the title is always Y against X. Graph of Y against X. See what is your Y, see what is your X. It's never X against Y. For your title of the graph is always Y against X. Okay, never X against Y, All right. Okay, can we use zigzags? Done already. Jump the scale. Yeah, Jaden. Boleh, sudah boleh. Jawab. Okay, next one. Continue, Jangan panjangkan, jangan extrapolate, jangan pergi panjangkan graph itu. Now, if it's a smooth graph, it looks like a curved line, please go and curve it nicely and smooth it. Do not join using a ruler like zigzag, macam dapat tangga macam you nak masuk itu nak climbing the tangga zigzag macam tu. Itu teknik yang salah Sebenarnya dia mesti satu smooth dan mesti melalui semua titik untuk biology So I'm not saying about physics, I'm not saying about chemistry. For biology, ikut dan join semua line itu. Mesti ikut dan join semua line itu. Jangan tinggal mana-mana. Walaupun ada satu nombor yang macam titik itu sudah keluar sikit. Cubalah masukkan dia. Okay, jangan lanjutkan tu. Okay, so baca. Sometimes you look carefully. Adakah dia nak line graph ataupun carta bar? Jangan ingat selalu dia nak straight, dia nak line graph tau. Okay, ataupun kadang-kadang dia nak bar chart. Jangan lukis yang silap. Okay, next one. Now, kalau dia tak ada table, okay, anda lukis saja graph, tak mungkin anda akan dapat graph. You're not possible to draw a graph without a table. So, your graph will be 0. That's according to my last time when I marked the paper 3 lah. Okay, now I can tell you because there's no more paper 3. Alright, and this year, I'm not telling you whether I'm marking or not. I can't tell you, and I also don't know, right, whether I'm marking the SPM or not. Alright, I can't tell you, alright. I'm just telling you that I was marking paper 3. Okay, so I'm drawing on my experience as paper 3 marker. Okay, now this is what you should get lah. Jangan lanjutkan. You see the last titik is here and there. That's it, cukup. Jangan pergi lanjutkan. So smooth graph. Okay. Kalau dia garis lurus mesti guna pembaris. If it's very obvious, it's a straight line, you must use a pembaris. Okay. And uniform scale, alright, nampak skala dia, jangan extrapolate. Okay, dia punya skala tu 0.05 untuk berapa petak itu. Okay. So question is always y against x. Your y is always your RV. Your x is always your MV. Tak boleh pergi exchange. Okay, the name of the graph is always graph of y against x. Jangan pergi letak x against y. X ini, okay, menegak macam ni. Yang y ini. So this is RV, this is MV. Jangan pergi tukar ya, silap ya, nanti graph kosong. Okay, alright, now this is your MV. RV is up there. This is at the bottom here is your MV. Okay, static relationship. Katakan lepas use graph, kita satu relationship. Okay, kalau relationship, tengok dia punya bentuk. Kalau adakah dia makin graph itu lebih tinggi, is it going higher and higher and higher? Kalau macam itu, maksudnya bila MV increase, RV also increase. Okay, itu standard. If it's coming down, graph itu turun. Okay, so your MV increase, RV decrease. Itu saja. Itu satu ayat saja untuk relationship. Dan berikan penerangan. Okay, kalau dia ada 3 soalan, kalau dia 3 markah. 1 untuk relationship, 2 markah untuk explanation. So explain why. Why is it like that? Why is it going higher and higher when I increase my MV? Why is the RV increasing? So this one, look at your theory. Kalau ada 3 markah. Okay, kalau dia 1 markah sahaja, berikan sahaja relationship. Tak perlu beri penerangan. Sebab tak mungkin dia bagi, you nak 3 point baru bagi 1 markah. Okay? Kalau 1 markah, mesti dia nak 1 point sahaja. You just give the relationship. Tak perlu terangkan. How to overcome insecure. Insecure is because mungkin tak baca cukup lah. Jadi there's only one way to overcome insecurity. You have to make sure you know your stuff. Okay? Dan macam mana tahu you know your stuff, you have to read loh. Okay? Banyakkan belik-belik buku, cuba soalan. So this is the time for you to try questions already. This is not the time for you to memorize. Okay? Some people ask me, teacher, how to do my Amali? Must I memorize the procedure? It's not so much memorizing, it's understanding. Kalau memorizing is sangat susah, you terikat. Okay, you terikat dengan mesti tulis ini, mesti tulis. Tapi kalau you understand, you will generate the sentence yourself. Anda masa berdepan dengan soalan tu, anda boleh tahu apa yang you nak buat. You buatlah ayat sendiri masa tu. So understanding will take you very far. Okay, take you very far. You can tackle many questions. Kalau you memorize itu 1 atau 2 eksperimen saja. Ini 1 atau 2 saja yang you boleh buat. Kalau soalan you tak memorize, you tak boleh buat, isn't it? So it's always better for you to understand. You write the procedure yourself. Okay, don't memorize. Memorize you can only limited. Kalau limited mungkin 5 eksperimen you boleh hafal. Okay, bukan you tak ada master. You are not a computer, right? You have so many things to remember. You cannot remember so many procedure. But if you understand, you can understand a lot of experiments. Okay, so fruity pie, you have to do more questions. Read. Okay, read tengok contoh-contoh eksperimen. Okay, not possible. The title of table will be given. We need to construct. The title give quite unlikely lah, I would say, quite unlikely. But anyway, if the title is not given, you always remember you need your MV and your RV. Your title or your table must always have MV and RV. And maybe the calculation. Okay, maybe this from the RV, you want to generate something else. Okay, so the next one is to calculate lah. Okay, the table need to include ARV or not? Oh, the ORV you mean? ORV, you should be in the table. ORV is the operating. Operating, that means what you immediately get from the experiment is ORV. And then the next one, the RV, is you generate. For example, the bilangan gelembung yang dikeluarkan oleh hydrilla, itu ialah ORV, the number of bubbles. And then the other one, the RV, is the rate of photosynthesis. That one is generated. So you must do the calculation. 1 divided by the number of bubbles, or the number of bubbles divided by the how many centimeters, bilangan apa? Yeah, divided by the number of bubbles. The more bubbles, of course, that means the rate is higher lah, right? Something like that. Okay, never mind. Let me go on to this one. I want to finish my slides first. Okay, so here refer to the graph on. Always relationship refer to the graph. Is it going like this or is it coming down? And the E is to explain the theory. Okay, now defining operationally. This is the one that selalu susah lah. Setiap tahun yang paper 3 tu susah, ini tak dapat yang penuh. So, 3 ideas lah, okay, in order to answer this defining operationally. So, what is X? The X, they ask you, what is the rate of photosynthesis? After you do the experiment, they ask you, what is photosynthesis? Okay, or maybe after you do the experiment, they ask you, what is the definition of carbohydrate based on this experiment? What is carbohydrate? So, if you want to answer this question, you don't go and give the theory. For defining operationally, you tak akan dapat markah yang penuh kalau anda berikan jawapan secara teori. You don't take carbohydrate is a molecule, it's made up of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, the ratio of 1 to 1, all right? Carbon 1 ratio 1 to 1, and then their function is to produce energy and so on. I know many of you will write that, okay? Because this is what you know. This is the theory. Tapi kalau dalam eksperimen, you sudah buat eksperimen tentang karbohidrat. Apakah karbohidrat? Ataupun apakah starch? Let's say, what is starch? So, in your experiment, definitely your starch would have been tested using your iodine, isn't it? So, it must be based on experiment. So, starch ialah satu bahan, the experiment, your answer for definitely defining operationally for starch, I'm giving example lah. Starch ialah satu bahan yang boleh menyebabkan menghasilkan warna biru gelap apabila diuji dengan iodine. Okay, so starch is a substance which will produce or which will become will form blue black when it's tested with what, with iodine. That is based on experiment. That is the definition of your starch based on experiment. Jangan beri starch ialah bla 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 bla, dia menghasilkan tenaga bla bla, itu teori dia. So that's why based on experiment is very important for mendefinisikan secara teori. Okay, so what is X based on this experiment? And how is X measured? So how is X measured? How is starch measured here? How is starch? It's of course not quantitative data, it's a qualitative data. How do you know there's starch? You look at the color change of the iodine. Kalau dia bertukar menjadi warna biru tua, maksudnya itu ialah starch lah. So this one you must measure. How is X measured? So it means you must talk about the coloring or the color of the iodine changing to dark blue. Itu ialah apa yang measure, itu RV dia. Itu RV dia. And what affects it? Okay, what affects the RV, MV loh. Katakan kepekatan starch yang lebih tinggi, katakan akan menghasilkan warna yang lebih gelap. Let's say lah, warna biru yang lebih gelap. Okay, the higher the MV, the higher the higher the RV. So the last sentence is the relationship between your MV and RV. This is based on the previous paper 3, Okay, I'm just telling you, this is from the paper 3 last time. So whether they ask this time like this, I still cannot answer you. I do not know, right? But just to be, like I said, drawing from my experience, it shouldn't run very far away. Your defining operationally definitely must be based on experiment. Kalau you anda berikan jawapan secara teori, pastinya tak akan betul, tak akan dapat markah penuh. Mungkin dapat sikit, tapi tak akan dapat markah penuh. Alright, okay? Yeah, probably your definition for chemistry and bio are different. Yes, definitely. So you follow your own subject, alright? Your bio is this, and your chemistry is that. Okay, do not mix it up. Like I said, even for the line of best fit, for physics, I know you have an X here, you have an X there, another X there. The X there is out of the line. You will, for physics, you will draw the line of best fit. You will akan draw in between the two X's. But biology, no. You go through all the lines. Okay, so please follow your own subject. I'm not saying for chemistry, I'm not saying for physics. Nanti semua marah saya. Saya tak boleh cakap tentang untuk because I'm not familiar and I don't teach chemistry or physics. Okay, next. Membuat ramalan. Okay, almost the last question usually. You must take the correct prediction. Apakah ramalan dia? Apa akan berlaku? Adakah dia the value increase or the value decrease? You must say. If you don't say the prediction, you just say the explanation sebab extra heat itu suhu yang tinggi boleh memusnahkan enzim. Okay, jadi apa-apa. You don't say prediction, you just give explanation is kosong. Last time, for the paper 3. So you have to give the prediction first, then explanation. Barulah kita boleh tengok explanation. Prediction mesti betul, mesti ada. Okay. So, prediction with the correct unit, okay, adakah bertambah menjadi berapa nombor dia, apa UCM ke, degree Celsius ke, explain based on the theory lah. Ini biasanya explanation based on theory lah. Jadi, you punya theory mesti ada lah. Jangan tak ada theory. No theory, you cannot answer. Definitely, you only end up doing experiment, only follow procedure, but you cannot answer. Okay, the questions. Okay. All right, I hope I have answered your questions here. If I've skipped, you just repeat your answer, a question there. I may have skipped your questions. Okay, prediction must be stated. Baru boleh dapat jawapan. Okay, let's say I give you an example of prediction. Okay, so let's say you do the vitamin C lah. Okay, then next time now you change the condition. The vitamin C now has been exposed to the air for a long time. Let's say satu malam you perah jus itu. Lepas itu you pergi test dia punya vitamin C. Okay, so what happens if you do overnight? You go and perah the juice and all that. Correct prediction. The volume of juice needed to decolorize DCPIP will increases or become higher than the original value lah. Okay, katakan you sekarang you perah jus itu fresh, you akan dapat nilai yang lebih tinggi. Katakan you perahkan jus itu satu malam sebelum itu, okay? And then you go and test now, the nilai akan lebih rendah. So that is a prediction first. Berikan nilai kalau boleh, ataupun lebih tinggi, ataupun lebih volume of juice lah, sebab dia sudah kurang pekat. Okay, then because now is your explanation why you will get higher volume, because heat destroys vitamin C. Oh, ini sorry ya, ini bukan letak semalaman lah. Katakan you pergi boil you punya juice lah. Katakan you boil it, okay? You boil your juice and then you test it. After boiling, you test it. Okay, then the concentration of vitamin C akan berkurang lah. So you give two ways explanation to explain your prediction. Prediction no need to say, yes, you no need to say exact value, but you must say higher than what? Okay? Prediction, you must have value, you can say increases are better lah. To be safe, it's better you say higher than your original value, but dengan unit or you can say another unit just a little bit higher. Okay? For my paper 3 last time, kita ada range. Kalau dia munasabah, okay lah. Kalau dia lebih tinggi boleh. Tapi jangan tinggi sampai beratus-ratus lah. Kalau beratus-ratus sudah macam sudah jadi tak logik, sudah akan salah. Okay? Now, that's what it means. So, you can say higher than the original value with the unit, or you can say increases. Okay? It's better for you to say a value, I would say lah. Okay? So, anda boleh berikan jawapan yang lebih tinggi sahajalah kalau macam tu. Okay, prediction is in terms of the volume of juice. Now, if the question asks you never say you predict the volume, they just say what happens. Predict sahaja, result. You can also talk about the concentration of vitamin C in the juice decreases or becomes lower than the original value. Sebab dalam soalan, dia tidak nyatakan you mesti cakap tentang volume ataupun you cakap tentang concentration. Either one. Tapi kalau soalan sudah nyatakan, if the question says you must predict what happens to the concentration of vitamin C, then you must do the second one. Okay? Kalau tidak sudah salah. Okay, you read carefully. The prediction, sometimes they predict what is the parameter. You want to talk about the volume or they want you to talk about the vitamin C. Kalau tak ada, kalau open macam ini, predict the outcome of the result. Then you can have either this set or the second set. Okay, mana-mana set pun mesti dia punya theory, the heat will destroy the vitamin C lah, or denature the vitamin C. Okay, alright. So when the E2 will be talking about the volume, if you talk about, you predict on the concentration, then the explanation you talk about the volume. The volume will be increased. I mean, you need more volume to decolorize your TCPIP. Okay, that is contoh soalan lah. Okay, just so that you can see how to answer. Okay, now classifying, last one. Okay, this is the easiest one. Classify your apparatus, which is apparatus, which is material. Very simple. Apparatus is something that you can reuse. Usually something that is expensive. You don't throw away after using one time. Material is something that is very cheap. Even for a thread to tie something can be a material. It's not an apparatus. Because after tying, you throw it away. You can take another one to tie for another experiment. Okay? Okay, materials like whisking tubing, or your thread, water, distilled water, the solution and all that. Okay, whether it's a high or low rate, okay, whether they give you some examples, okay, and food class, whether this is carbohydrate, this is lipid, and so on. Okay, whether it's protein, they give us some food, you just classify them. Okay, or whether it's an MV or an RV lah. Okay, so whether what type of solution, whether it is isotonic, hypotonic, or whatever. Okay, now let's do one question. Okay, let's do one question. I think it was a question. My body prefer more than less than foundation, but my country prefer. Okay, yeah, sometimes Melvin, Yes. So difficult for me to tell you because I don't know the scheme, all right? But from what I marked last time for paper 3, both are acceptable. More than your original value, or you can say increases, okay? Or you can also say the specific value. Boleh. Okay, rich people, everything is material. Yes, everything is material. Materialistic people, okay, so they buy new ones, sekali buang, pakai sekali buang terus, then you can buy a new one. Okay, so apparatus you cannot afford to lah, expensive. Okay, so this is experiment. Okay, I cannot spend too much time here, so I'll just tell you, this is to test whether your amylase concentration, you change the amylase concentration, whether your the rate of enzyme reaction is increased or decreased. Okay, whether it's faster or slower. Okay, so you must prepare your iodine in the groove tile here for you to take one sample and test to see whether the hydrolysis of starch has stopped or not, or has completed or not. Okay, so here this question is the one that asks you to write procedure. I choose a question that is difficult one, so I can show you the answer. Okay, 4 marks, 3 for method to handle, 1 is precautionary step. So saya menjangka lah, okay, like I said, saya bukan pemeriksa yang saya tak tahu pun soalan dia, saya tak tahu apa skema dia, tapi saya menjangka lah, mungkin lah dia akan mark macam cara inilah. Sebab dia mesti cakap 3 itu MV, RV dan CV. So definitely you must mention that. Okay, answer. Let's. So here, one more question they ask you, should I write active or passive voice? Here is an active voice. They ask you to do it. This is like instruction. Put the what into what. Okay, put this. Okay, put the whatever, add this one. This is like a active voice. You tulis apa yang you minta orang buat. Tapi sepatutnya lah, kalau kita menjawab soalan, kita buat satu eksperimen, sudah buat, we already done experiment, we are reporting the experiment, by right lah, it should be passive voice. Okay, so let's say 2 ml of amylase enzyme solution was put, okay, into each test tube, label A, B, and C, and so on, by right. But don't worry, like last time when I was marking paper 3, we accept both. We are not particular about the language. Okay, not particular about the language. We are particular about the facts, whether you have the point that we want. So don't worry about whether, I want to generate active or passive voice. Don't worry so much about it. If based on what I know last time, it is not important for you to write in the correct passive active voice. Okay, prediction is wrong, but both my is correct. Do I get 2 marks or 0? 0 marks. Prediction must be correct. Baru kita bagi markah untuk explanation. Okay, Karina. Okay, so preparative containers correct. Yeah, containers that you can reuse. But if a paper cup, you can say it's material lah. All right, because if paper cup, you just use it to put your, let's say to put maybe to collect the urine sample or whatever. Apparatus or material. I think yeah, usually container can material apparatus lah. All right. Yeah, you have a question, biomass. I just answer your biomass. Biomass. So it's active or passive, doesn't matter much lah. All right. So to be correct lah, you want to be correct, if you think the schema this year, or maybe they want to be very specific, you write passive voice. You can try to write passive voice. Doesn't matter. Okay. So here, where are you going to give you marks? Okay, 3 marks for method. 1 is precautionary step. So look at this. MV mesti ada, RV mesti ada, C ada minimum 1. MV mesti dinyatakan, RV mesti ada, CV mesti ada, precautionary step mesti ada. Okay, where is it? All this 1%, 1.5%, 2%, this is your MV. Because you're doing the experiment, you are changing the kepekatan. So that is manipulated variable. And also, you can also write in form the question last one. Repeat step 3 to 6 for test tube B and C. That means you are repeating it to doing it with a different value. But you must mention the value. You cannot just put A, B, and C without the value. If you just say repeat with test tube B, test tube C, tapi in your cara kerja, your procedure, you never mention what is B. B is how many percentage. Never mention, also cannot. You have to mention. Okay, RV. RV is what are you going to measure? Record the time taken for the iodine solution to remain yellow, but I want to add this word, using a stopwatch. You have to, last time, according to my paper 3, you have to mention the device. You record the time using what? You record using your fingers. Okay, you record using your memory, how to just count. You must use your stopwatch. Okay, so if you're measuring mass, you must use, you say, electronic balance or a weighing scale. If you're measuring the length, you must say using a meter rule or a ruler. Okay, must mention the device just to be on the safe side. Okay, mungkin skema tahun ini pun macam itu juga. Okay, so CV. CV is what is kept constant. You don't change the volume of your amylase enzyme. You don't change the temperature, which is 37. All these mentioned. Okay, and precautionary step. You must at least one precautionary step. Stir the mixture, all right? Or put it immediately. You must drop it immediately. It's important because if you do not do it immediately, the digestion will start already, and then it won't be accurate. Okay, and clean dropper. That means after you use a dropper, you must rinse it to avoid contamination. Okay, make sure you mention that you use a clean dropper is also part of a precautionary step. That means you avoid contamination. Okay, next. Now, based on experiment conducted, state one observation. This is our observation. Let's say, so this is, like I said, mentioned observation, there are two, whether it's qualitative or quantitative. Qualitative, no value. That means color change on it. For example, like a food test, your Benedict solution turned into break rate precipitate. That is qualitative. You just mention the color on it, the color change. Okay. Quantitative, you have value, like how many degrees Celsius increase in your temperature of water, or your DCPIP, okay, I mean your ascorbic acid, use how much to decolorize, okay, all this is with value. Okay, so rubric, that means the format, how to give you marks. You must have this, this, and this, all right? Because so happen only one mark, that means you all three also you must have, otherwise it's wrong. Okay, for example, let's say this is your data. This is your data, let's say, so how to make a sentence from here? So you must mention your MV. So the time taken, the time taken for iodine solution to remain yellow for enzyme concentration, this is your MV, the blue is MV, is 80 minutes. You must mention the data, the value, okay, with the unit. So you must MV, RV plus the number, all right? Can all right, next. Explain the observation. Now, observation why you get 80 minutes? Why for using 1.0 percentage, why you get 80 minutes? It's quite slow, isn't it? It's quite slow, right? Right. So it's because your concentration is low. Okay. So it's to explain. This is inference. They're asking for inference. Why? Why you use 1%, you get 80 minutes. And then when you use 1.5%, you get a shorter time. You use 2%, you get an even shorter time. So why? Actually, you don't use back the same answer for your explaining. Your time taken actually 80 minutes means it's because it shows the rate of enzyme reaction is low. That means slow lah, all right? Time is long, that means it's slow. When the time is long, that means it's slow. That means it's the low rate of enzyme reaction. Okay, and another one, enzyme concentration 1.0. That means it's considered lower. This is low enzyme concentration. So now you need to use this inside your inference. Don't go and use the time taken anymore. Don't go and use this one. Don't go and use the time taken anymore. Don't go and use your enzyme concentration anymore. You must use this as your MVRV. So the rate of enzyme reaction is low because the enzyme concentration is low. Okay, so the 18 indicate it's long time. That means the time is long. That means it's low concentration. Okay, and that's your MV. All right, next. And then you are not sure whether you want to. See, look here, 2 marks. I'm also not sure. I'm not sure whether they want something else. So think of something else to write. This one maybe at most is only give you 1 mark, maybe lah. All right, maybe. So I need to think of something to write so that I do not miss my second point. All right, so I'm going to write like this. If the enzyme concentration is low, okay, why is it low? Why is the rate of reaction low? It's because there will be less enzyme molecules to bind to the substrate to form your enzyme substrate complex. That means there will be less enzyme substrate complex. Okay, that means your result or your this one will be slow lah. All right, is lower. The rate is lower than the original. Okay, next one. Now calculate the rate of enzyme reaction using the formula. Usually I think formula is given 3 marks here. That means you have the 3 columns there. Okay, look here. So this is your first column. I give you how to mark last time for paper 3. Okay, the first thing is this one, title. Everything correct with your unit, 1 mark. Okay, then this one, your data has to be correct. This one must be the one that is given in the question. And this one is what you generate yourself after doing the experiment. So this one is another mark. Okay, this is based on the paper 3 last time. All right. Now, then this is calculation. Now, calculation, please do not leave your answer in fractional form. You must convert into decimal And decimal, please maintain the number of consistent decimal. Here you got 3, here you got 2. Either one is equal to. Okay, this is another mark. So you get 3 marks. Okay. Now, next graph. So graph, plot a graph to show the rate of reaction, rate of enzyme reaction against. So you see, this is your y against x. My RV I put rate. Okay, rate of enzyme reaction. Rate of reaction, not just reaction. And a blue color is my MV. Okay, so this is y, this is x. So make sure you know the correct place to put. And make sure you put your x pencil very fine and very, very clearly in the correct, you plot it correctly. So here is your MV with the unit. RV, forgive me, RV. And the other one here is your MV at the bottom here, also with the correct unit in percentage. Okay, then all this scale must be uniform. Right? You cannot skip the 0.1 one box and suddenly one box represents 0.5. Okay, everything both sides correct, then only you get 1 mark. 1 mark only, no? 1 mark saja. Baru axis betul. Then your second mark comes from your point. Ini 3 point mesti betul, anda plot betul. Janganlah dia punya marker, dia punya point 0.02, you go and plot 0.20. Salah lah tu, okay? Because we look at your table. Then the shape must be, you see here, nice curve here. Because it's not a straight line. You can see carefully, it's not a straight line. And the person did not draw like zigzag. Okay? So, lagi 1 markah, 3 markah. Okay, last one. This is prediction. This experiment is repeated by immersing the test tube in a water bath fixed at 65. Originally was 37 degrees Celsius. So now, predict the outcome. Okay, predict. Now, I say outcome, they never tell you predict what. So you should predict your RV lah, all right? So your time taken, okay, should be longer lah. The time taken for the iodine solution to remain yellow will be longer than the 30 minutes, maybe the original value lah. Original, that was your earlier value. Will be longer. Because why? Your reason here is, this is your RV, right? And also you have the unit. Make sure you take the value, or you can say longer than the original one. Explanation, 2 marks here, because here 3 marks. Talk about the theory. Always talk about the theory. The high temperature, the rate of enzyme activity will decrease, or it will stop at 65 because it's high temperature, right? So the enzyme will decrease because the enzyme already denatured. The active sites have undergone changes, okay? The active site is no longer the configuration. The substrate will not be able to fit into the active site already. Okay, so that's it. This is one question that already you can see it's 50 marks already. So 2 here, 3 here, and plus, everything is 50 marks. Now my $1 million question. Apakah eksperimen yang mungkin keluar? Okay, so I'm not giving you I do not know the answer. I terang-terang saya bagi tahu ya. Saya tak tahu. Bio must connect all the points, betul. No need, do not, don't say no need. Definitely do not use the line of best fit. Jayden, because this is based on my experience of marking paper 3 for so many years, 17 years. So they do not want you to do a line of best fit. Okay, does this sound like if the table has stated the units, the data also need to have unit? Oh, no need. The table, it means the title already unit. The data, when you put a number 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, no need, because on top has already got percentage. No need. Okay. Cheng Chu, right? So this sound like hypothesis. The first explanation of the inference. No, sound like hypothesis. Inference and hypothesis are very close. Okay, but inference is just to explain your observation. Okay, it's a bit more detailed, I think. Okay, so the $1 million question now, what are the possible experiments? Okay, I leave it to you, but I give you 2 guidelines. What kind of experiment can come out? There will be certain experiments that tak mungkin keluar. Okay, I just give you the guideline. Tak mungkin keluar sebab mungkin mengambil masa terlalu panjang. It takes a too long time. So first thing is, number 1, experiment, hanya eksperimen yang dinyatakan dalam DSKP Biology SPM. It's all the experiments that you have learned before, or it should be in your syllabus. They will not ask you something is out of your syllabus. They may change the material, but the theory you should have learned. So if it's the theory you have not learned, they will not ask you. Okay, that is the first guideline. Second guideline, mesti boleh dijalankan dalam 40 minit. So there's certain experiments that cannot be done. For example, the urine one. Is it possible you're going to drink water, then you're going to wait to collect the urine, make to form the urine, then you're going to collect the urine, I do not think it's possible to have the experiment lah. I don't think so lah. All right. Within 40 minutes, just think, go through all the experiment, see what experiments that you can do within selesaikan dalam masa 40 minit. Okay, so I give you a few lah. Saya tak ada pergi cari sampai habis lah, but I give you a few just to make you get an idea lah. Alright, so preparing slides of animal and plant cells, boleh? Chick cell, amoeba, alright, they give you, and then you draw. Most of the observation is drawing, okay? And of course, labeling. Okay, maybe this one studying the movement of substances across a semi-permeable membrane like whisking tubing, osmometer. All right, they can put the glucose and starch inside your whisking tubing, then you rendam there for about 20 minutes, and then you test the water outside, see which one whether got glucose or whether got starch and all that. Okay, can be done because it takes less than 40 minutes. Studying the effect of different concentration of solution on plant cell. Okay, maybe the stem, the bayam, you slice it into quarters, you put into different concentration, then it will curve. One will curve in, one will curve out, or one will become straight or whatever. Okay, so this one can be done also. It takes about 20 minutes only to run down. All right, next. Apa lagi? Okay, mengkaji kesan suhu. Okay, studying the effect of temperature or pH on the activities of amylase or enzyme. This one, you have to be quick about it because sometimes it's quite messy lah. Okay, it can be carried out. All right, it can be carried out, but it may be a bit clumsy lah in the sense that because you have to be quite fast, you know, after you immerse the thing, you must immediately take out and then you test whether you have starch or not. Okay, it can be done. It is workable. All right. If you want to kill you, they will give you this experiment. They will definitely kill you because you have to be so on your toes all the time. You know, when 2 minutes up, you got to take a sample. Another 2 minutes, take a sample. It's possible. All right. I do not want to what do you call it? Eliminate this one. Okay. Next one. Testing the digestion of starch. Maybe put enzyme on starch and then it becomes glucose. Testing for glucose, maybe protein, lipid. Okay, so digestion of that. And then maybe that one is like maybe what you call that, the food test. Food test is also possible. They give you a sample of food, ask you to test, does it have lipid, does it have glucose, does it have what do you call this starch. Is possible. They ask you to go and titis and go and test. All right. Okay. Stating the study energy value, they give you 2 samples of food. One don't know kacang A, one kacang B. Go and burn it. Okay. And then you find the value. Which one gives you a higher calorific value? Next one. It could also be a vitamin C. All right. I did it in my school. Right, for the trial. So you just use your sample. They give you DCPIP. They give you the different juices, or maybe you have to go and cut the buah itself. I don't know. Maybe you got to cut, you got to perah the juice, you got to filter it, and so on. And then you isi into the syringe, and then you got to put it into your DCPIP. Okay, so it could come up because it can easily be done in less than 40 minutes. Okay, estimating the population of organisms. This is a simulation. They give you buttons or they give you the kacang, and then they will label the kacang. Okay, this kacang actually represents the, let's say, animal that you want to catch. They put it into the sawdust. They put the kacang. You go and you scoop it out. This is the tangkapan pertama. Then you go and label all the X. After that, you throw it back inside and then you kacau. Then you take another sample. This is tangkapan kedua. Then you see how many are with the X, how many without the X. And then you put into the formula. Then you find your populasi kacang inside there will be how many, or populasi of the supposedly inside lah. Okay, this is a CMRR method, or it could be quadrat sampling. They give you a simple quadrat, a plastic one with the squares and all that. They give you, and then you take up there, and then you count how many individual inside the whatever lah, inside the box there. It's also possible. It can be done. Last time I remember, as I was a student, one of this quadrat sampling came out when I was taking my biology. Okay, quadrat sampling. Okay, next one. Then studying continuous and discontinuous variation. They give you a picture, maybe the different types of earlobes. How many is the free earlobe? How many is attached earlobe? Okay, how many you got count? And then they ask you a question about your variation, continuous and discontinuous. So which type lah? Okay, and then ask you about the genes and all that lah. All right, so this is possible. So these are a few which I find can be done in 40 minutes lah. Okay, I'm not saying that these are the only questions coming up. You have to look for it yourself. There could be others which I missed out. So go through it. It's all in your syllabus. Just that guiding light is always, it can be done in 40 minutes. The experiment that is too long, too complicated, too difficult to pasang, probably cannot will not be able to be dilaksanakan lah. Alright, okay. So can we use pen? Do not use pen, Ezrin. Sebab you know why? Risky. Kalau you plot silap, how are you going to rub it with a pen? Nanti you rub with the ink rubber, nanti berlubang. Bukan berlubang, dia ada berbulu dulu kan. So always write in pencil. Pencil is always safe because like I'm sure your maths also, at maths also, they teach you ask you to write in pencil. Pencil is perfectly accepted, all right, as one of your instrument for writing your answer. So you put an X there. If you get it wrong, no problem. You rub it away, and then maybe you have done it wrongly. You can, no, instead of rubbing and then you're getting another paper, draw all the graph, draw all the scale again, waste time. Please use pencil for your graphs. Okay, level of BOD also come out, teacher. It may take time. That's why I did not put inside here. Because the level of BOD, depending on how clean or how dirty the water is, all right, it will take some time. So I do not know 40 minutes is whether enough or not. So I dare not put here. And also it could. Probably they give you very dirty water lah, all right, which is going to decolorize. Your methylene blue will decolorize in a matter of maybe 10 minutes. I don't know because we haven't done it. I have not done the experiment before. I do not know how dirty a water and what is the time frame needed to decolorize it. Okay, so that's why I dare not put it as one of the, I do not know the time frame. All right. Possible there will be 2 simple experiments in one paper. No, it's just one experiment only. It's not possible because 40 minutes is a very short time. It's not possible for you to melaksanakan 2 experiments. It'll be very confusing and then it's very taxing on you. It's not fair for you also. Usually it's only one. All right, okay. So I hope I've answered all your questions. All right, I think I've come to the end of my slide. All right, so I hope that I'm able to help you in some way lah. All right, based on my experience. Like I mentioned, I am not giving you the answer. I do not know the scheme. Definitely, no one, none of the teachers know it, unless she's of course the penggubau soalan lah, right? Which is somebody up very high level lah. So we do not know. What we can do is use our own knowledge. And myself, I have an additional because I was marking for paper 3. So that's how we help you. All right. If you just relax, all right, don't worry, keep calm. You know all your facts. You know the theory. Do not memorize all the experiments procedure. It's not possible for you to do so. You understand it, then you can generate. You know what is needed. Your MV, your RV, and your CV. You must know each one. What is needed. Then you can write it. Because when you do not memorize, you can go far. When you memorize, you're only fixed there and there only. Okay, all right? Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Okay, thank you. And yeah, I hope I've helped you. All right, thank you very much. And I will see you probably next week when I'll come up with another Teknik Menjawab for something else. Your Amali would have finished already. Bye-bye already. Maybe your paper 2 or paper 2 or essay lah. All right. Okay, so thank you very much. I hope to see you another time. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye. Thanks. Any questions, please, you can ask me in my video there, all right? Or you can Telegram me. Okay, bye-bye. See you.